Black Hawk down. The day a 1-hour mission became a 15-hour nightmare, they were told. 1 hour, in and out. What happened next became the longest and deadliest sustained firefight American forces had faced since Vietnam. After one rocket-propelled grenade changed everything. October 3rd, 1993. Mogadishu, Somalia. America did not go to Somalia to fight a war. They went to stop a famine. Civil war had destroyed the country's food system. Armed warlords were stealing humanitarian aid meant for starving civilians. The intervention worked. Hundreds of thousands of lives were saved. But the mission slowly expanded, and a warlord named Mohammed Farah Aidid became the target. By October 1993, a force called Task Force Ranger, Delta Force operators, Army Rangers, and 161st SOAR Night Stalkers had already run 6 successful raids in Mogadishu. The 7th mission felt routine. It was not. At 3:30 in the afternoon, Black Hawk helicopters launched. Ground vehicles rolled toward the target. 12 minutes later, Delta Force operators fast-roped into the compound and detained 24 of Aidid's men, including the intended targets. The capture had succeeded. Then everything fell apart. A ranger named Private First Class Todd Blackburn fell nearly 70 feet while fast-roping from a hovering helicopter. A convoy had to fight through hostile streets to carry the badly wounded ranger to safety while the main mission was still running. Then at 4:20 in the afternoon, 50 minutes after the mission began, a Black Hawk helicopter called Super 61 was struck by a rocket-propelled grenade and went down 3 blocks from the target building. In an instant, the mission changed. It was no longer about capturing prisoners. It was about reaching that downed crew before the crowd did. American soldiers fought through the narrow streets of Mogadishu toward the crash site. Smoke blocked their view. Roadblocks stopped their vehicles. Fire came from every direction. The convoy got lost in the chaos of unfamiliar streets. Then a second Black Hawk went down. Super 64 crashed further away. No large rescue force could reach it in time. 2 Delta Force snipers, Master Sergeant Gary Gordon and Sergeant First Class Randall Shughart, were providing cover from a helicopter circling above. They could see what was happening on the ground below. They requested permission to be inserted at the second crash site to protect the surviving crew. Permission was denied, twice. They asked a third time. This time they were told, "There is no rescue force coming for you." They said yes anyway. Gordon and Shughart were lowered into the chaos alone. They pulled surviving crewmen from the wreckage. They established a defensive perimeter and kept fighting. Shughart was fatally wounded first. Gordon continued fighting until his rifle ammunition ran out. He went back to the wreckage, recovered another rifle with only 5 rounds left, and placed it in the hands of the injured pilot, Michael Durant. Good luck. Then Gordon returned to the fight armed only with his pistol. He was killed shortly after. Their actions saved Michael Durant's life. Both men were posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, the first soldiers to receive it for combat actions since the Vietnam War. Durant was captured and held for 11 days before being released through negotiations. Back across the city, the situation was desperate. Hundreds of Somali militia fighters and armed civilians had converged on a much smaller American force. The soldiers pinned near the first crash site were running critically low on ammunition. They dragged their wounded through the streets under fire. They broke into buildings and held through the night. Then, in the early hours of the morning, a massive relief column finally broke through. American soldiers from the 10th Mountain Division, Pakistani tanks, and Malaysian armored personnel carriers. More than 60 vehicles fighting their way into the city. The armored convoy reached the first crash site at approximately 1:55 in the morning. As dawn approached, soldiers who could not fit inside the armored vehicles moved alongside the convoy through the streets of Mogadishu. That movement became known as the Mogadishu Mile. When it was over, 18 Americans were dead. More than 70 were wounded. Somali casualties were far higher. Hundreds killed, with accounts varying considerably on the exact number. The battle ended offensive operations against Aidid and accelerated the withdrawal of American ground forces from Somalia. President Clinton ordered American troops out by March 1994. But here is what those numbers cannot tell you. 2 men voluntarily walked into a crash site with no rescue coming. because leaving those crewmen alone was something they simply could not do. Soldiers held through an entire night in streets they didn't know, with weapons running dry, dragging their brothers to safety one building at a time. 18 Americans went home in flag-draped coffins. The rest came home having done something that should not have been possible. They held.